Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
It's been cloudy for much of the day, but the bulk of the day will stay dry. Once we get into this evening, our chance of rain goes up, and that starts a wetter pattern that will last for several days. I'll show you coming up.
And a Johnston County man is in jail without bond. The serious charges he faces this afternoon.
Plus, the head of the State Board of Elections is assuring voters that your ballot will count in the November election. The measures in place that will help the process run smoothly.
Wouldn't know it just yet, but a cold front is moving toward our area this afternoon. It'll bring us a wet pattern starting tonight. Good afternoon to you. I'm Jeff Hogan.
And I'm Renee Chu. Thanks for joining us. Still feeling very summer-like for fall. Elizabeth Gardner is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center with a look at when the rain arrives and how much we're going to get.
We could end up with a significant amount of rainfall once we get later this week and into the weekend. We take a live look at what's happening here in North Hills. Lots of gray sky. We've had a little bit of sunshine in some of our eastern counties, but it's going to be a pretty gray day for the bulk of us. 76 is our current temperature. The one thing about the cloud cover is it has kept our temperatures down this morning. Our dew point sitting at 66, so it feels fairly comfortable as you step outside. Futurecast showing the potential for some sunshine in our eastern counties for the next few hours, but from the Triangle area westward, it stays fairly cloudy. Now, at 8 p.m., we are still dry, but the cold front will start to creep our way, and as we get into the evening, we'll have a better chance for storms at around 10, 11, or 12. Tomorrow, 60% chance, 60 Wednesday. We might get a little break in the rain on Thursday, but on Friday, we're going to be talking about that tropical system that may develop in the Gulf of Mexico. It may happen actually in the Caribbean, move up through the Gulf and make landfall here in Florida. And then there's a good chance that it will make a left turn and head out into the Midwest, but it would still bring us the potential for some rainfall. So we're going to talk about the different scenarios with that system and where it could be headed coming up.
Elizabeth, thanks. An 18-year-old man from Clayton is due in court shortly to answer to serious charges. He is charged with kidnapping and rape. WRAL's Chelsea Donovan is live outside the Wake County Justice Center with what we know. Chelsea.
Yeah, not too many details at this hour, Renee, but we do know that 18-year-old Tristan Gardner was arrested late last night by Fuquay Arena Police, assisted by the Johnston County Sheriff's Office for two very, very serious charges in regards to first-degree kidnapping as well as rape. Let's show you who we're talking about. This is 18-year-old Tristan Gardner. We understand he is set to graduate high school next year. Now, warrants show he was charged with first-degree kidnapping by holding a person over the age of 18 against their will with ransom, moving that person to another location and confining them. And then another charge shows that Gardner then raped that person. It is unclear right now where all of those incidents took place yesterday. We understand that the date of offense was 9/21, so that would have been on Saturday. Now, we are awaiting to see Tristan Gardner here at the Wake County Justice Center for his first court appearance. As you mentioned, he's being held under no bond. Live in downtown Raleigh, Chelsea Donovan, WRAL News.
Covering Wake County, one man is in the hospital with serious injuries after shooting at an apartment complex this morning. It happened at the Walnut Ridge Apartments in Raleigh on White Sock Lane around 2 a.m. The shooters drove away in two cars. We're talking with neighbors about the violence. WRAL's Brett Neese will join us in our next half hour with the live report.
In the last 60 minutes, North Carolina's top election official answered questions about how she plans to make sure your vote counts and her staff stays protected throughout the election season. WRAL's Noah Klein is here now. And Noah, this all comes as the FBI is investigating some suspicious packages sent to election offices.
Jeff, North Carolina, one of 20 states to now be part of that investigation. We should mention no reports of any injuries connected to it. Security and new numbers for mail-in voting, two of the big items here that Karen Brinson Bell touched on this morning while speaking virtually to reporters. She says election officials have been working long hours through the night and into the weekends because of that court-ordered delay in voting. That's in the case connected to RFK getting off the ballot. We know ballots did start going out to military and overseas voters on Friday. 102 people have already cast ballots in the election. She emphasized it's important people voting by mail know that these laws have changed since 2020. Ballots now have to be delivered back to the state by Election Day or else they won't be counted. So if you're voting by mail, just build in some extra time just to be safe. On security, Brinson Bell says her number one priority remains the same this year.
At the end of the day, the core, we are not going to be intimidated by this. We're going to do the core work the very compass that drives us, and that is to ensure that every eligible voter is able to cast their ballot.
She said whether that's wearing gloves to handle mail or physical barriers to keep people safe, they're going to do what's necessary. We have all the deadlines on each method of voting posted over on WRAL.com.
Noah, thanks. Several top staff members for the Republican candidate for governor, Mark Robinson, have quit. Robinson spokesman Mike Lonergan announced that the sitting lieutenant governor's campaign manager and deputy campaign manager stepped down from those roles. So did his campaign senior advisor and finance director. Robinson's facing increased pressure and skepticism from members of his party after a recent report by CNN. The report says he made lewd, racist, and pro-Hitler comments on a pornographic website's messaging board. Robinson has denied what's in the report. Republican vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance will be in North Carolina today. Vance plans to speak at the Dale Halton Theater in Charlotte at 5 o'clock. This comes just 5 days after he was here in Raleigh for an event. Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump was also in North Carolina recently. He hosted a rally in Wilmington on Saturday. WRAL will cover all the candidates' visits to North Carolina now through Election Day.
Staying on the campaign trail here in the WRAL Live Center, President Trump will be back in North Carolina this Wednesday. He'll be making remarks in Mint Hill, North Carolina. Mint Hill is a suburb of Charlotte. The president is expected to be touting his America First agenda, promoting products made in America. Now, also this Wednesday, second gentleman Doug Emhoff will be campaigning in Wilmington, North Carolina as well. He'll be touting the vice president's plans to bolster the economy. After leaving Wilmington, second gentleman Emhoff will take that same message to Charlottesville, Virginia.
Federal prosecutors say the man charged with the second assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump reportedly wrote a letter, and in it, Ryan Ruth said this was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. A witness told investigators Ruth dropped off a box at his home months before the failed plot on Trump's life. The box contained ammunition, a metal pipe, various items, and letters. After learning of the apparent assassination attempt, the witness opened the box and turned it over to authorities. House leaders unveiled new legislation Sunday to avoid a shutdown at the end of the month. The measure would fund the government until December 20th. What's included in the bill is nearly $250,000 in additional funding for the Secret Service. Doug Luzada reports some members of Congress feel a sense of urgency to enhance protections for presidential candidates with the election now just 6 weeks out.
First, it was an attempted assassination in Butler, Pennsylvania. Then another incident in Florida. Congress this week looking for answers.
There can be no complacency. So we're going to find a number of failures. Thursday's hearing will start with local, state and local law enforcement who were participating in the event.
And that's where the finger pointing has already started, with the Secret Service suggesting local police were supposed to secure the building where the shots were fired from in Pennsylvania.
There was an assumption that they had it covered, but there clearly was not that follow-up to make sure.
A town commissioner there doesn't see it that way.
Was it your guys' job to secure that building where the shooter was on the top of the roof?
Absolutely not.
The Secret Service already says there were communication breakdowns. But the FBI will face tough questions about the investigation, as will the Department of Homeland Security. In the near term, a tentative agreement in Congress to prevent a government shutdown will give the Secret Service an additional $231 million, even as some question whether the agency really needs it.
Why don't we look at where we're spending money, redeploy it, try to get more people on board? And this is not an easy task.
As Doug Luzada reporting, the legislation does not include money to replenish FEMA. The House is expected to vote on this roughly 3-month-long continuing resolution by Wednesday.
And happening now in the WRAL Live Center, a freight train hits a man and seriously injuring that man. Take a look at some new video into our newsroom of that scene that unfolded around 9:30 this morning. Raleigh police say the train hit that man at the intersection of Carolina Pines Avenue and Suffolk Boulevard. Investigators say the man suffered serious injuries but is expected to recover. That man, whose identity has not been released at this point, is currently at a Wake County area hospital. Now, police are trying to determine why that man was on the track. As soon as we get any new information, we'll update this story on air and online.
Next at noon, intense airstrikes by Israel, firing on Hezbollah militants. What Israel is telling people to do if they live near those terrorist hideouts.
Also, a sea lion attack in California. Why experts say there's a reason for this type of rare encounter, and it may not be what you think.
Plus, a search for a shooter after a violent night in Raleigh. At 12:30, the investigation that happened while kids were going to the bus stop.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.
The Lebanese Health Ministry says 182 people were killed today in Israeli airstrikes. The Israeli military said it struck hundreds of targets in one of the most intense barrages in nearly a year of fighting against the Hezbollah militants. Raf Sanchez reports Israel is warning civilians to evacuate from areas where militants may be hiding.
The Israeli military says it has struck more than 300 Hezbollah targets across Lebanon today in what appears to be the start of a broad Israeli military campaign targeting the Iranian-backed militant group. This is by far the most extensive set of strikes we have seen in the time that Israel and Hezbollah have been skirmishing across the border since October 8th. And for the first time, the Israeli military is issuing widespread warnings to Lebanese civilians to evacuate from villages where Hezbollah fighters and their weapons are stored. This is a moment that many fear may see this region hurtling to an all-out war between Israeli forces and the Iranian-backed militant group. At Hezbollah firing back with rockets, drones, and missiles into northern Israel. We saw some damage yesterday as a result of Hezbollah fire. I asked an Israeli military official earlier if Hezbollah were to stop shooting, would that be enough for Israel to call off its attacks? This official indicating that at this point it would not be, and that Israel has three broad goals from this bombing campaign. One, to create conditions where it is safe enough for those tens of thousands of displaced Israeli civilians to return to their homes in the north. Two, to push Hezbollah fighters away from the Israeli border. And three, to degrade what at this point is decades of infrastructure military buildup that Hezbollah has carried out across southern Lebanon. Raf Sanchez, NBC News, Tel Aviv.
Israel's military vows to continue to attack Hezbollah despite calls for an immediate ceasefire. White House national security officials say the U.S. is using diplomacy to try to prevent an all-out war.
A man in California is recovering after being attacked by a 6-foot-long sea lion while swimming in the ocean. This happened over the weekend on Mission Beach. And while it's not unusual to see sea lions in that area, they don't usually attack people. Experts say it actually wasn't what it looked like. They say it's the height of mating season and male sea lions chase other males out of their territories. As a warning, sun lovers are reminded to keep their distance. The surviving co-founder of the company that owned the doomed Titan submersible is testifying today about the implosion that killed 5 people last year. Guillermo Sonline launched the Washington state-based company that created the experimental submersible in 2009. He left the company in 2013. Others have testified about platform malfunctions in 2 incidents during dives in 2022. If the Marine Board of Investigation detects evidence of a crime, it will make a recommendation to the Department of Justice.
Federal Aviation Administration says it exceeded its hiring goal for air traffic controllers this year. The agency planned to hire 1,800 workers, ended up with 1,811. This marks the largest number of hires in nearly a decade, and it marks important progress as the FAA tries to reverse the air traffic controller staffing level decline. The FAA currently has more than 14,000 air traffic controllers. A Soyuz capsule carrying 2 Russians and 1 American from the International Space Station landed today in Kazakhstan, ending a record-breaking stay for the Russian pair. The capsule landed about 3.5 hours after undocking from the space station. The astronauts were taken from the capsule and placed in nearby chairs to help them adjust back to gravity on Earth, then given medical examinations in a nearby tent. The Russians spent 374 days aboard the space station. American Tracy Dyson was in the space station for 6 months. They had to get out and they get help down. They carry them down because you just can't, your body's not used to actual gravity and your muscles have just gotten weak.
I was just thinking for those up in the International Space Station, probably looking down on planet Earth, they can see that tropical storm that's starting to form there in the Gulf Coast on satellite there. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner in the WRAL Severe Weather Center walking us through what to expect.
Yeah, right now we're looking at warm, humid conditions. You know, the tropical system came through last week and brought us all that rain. Just kind of left this tropical moisture in place. So we're seeing that for the next few days. Our storm chances start to climb as we get into tonight and tomorrow as a cold front comes through. And then at the end of the week, we'll likely see some impact from this tropical system. It is potential tropical cyclone number 9 now. And you remember the one that brought us all that rain last week was number 8, and it's just going to be number 8. And this one is likely to get a name. It's likely to be a Category 2 storm by the time we get to Thursday morning. It may make landfall here on the coast of Florida as a Cat 2 storm. And then moving inland, potentially right around the mountains of North Carolina. That's going to be Friday at 5 a.m. Still could have tropical storm force winds at that point. And then it's likely to take a left turn, but it will likely be close enough to our part of North Carolina that we are going to see some rain out of this. It may be a very sharp difference, though, between where the heavy rain is and where it isn't. And so it may be a bit tricky to determine exactly how much rain we'll see depending on what the track is. So this is a look at the rainfall. I'm going to throw the track on here again so you can see. Well, I thought I was going to. Let's back it up because I want to take another look at that rainfall. So here it is. You can see the oranges in the mountains. That's going to be 5 to 8 inches of rainfall. But we're looking at blues here, and that's going to be about an inch of rainfall for our area. So you could see if the storm actually bobbles a little bit farther to the east, we could be in some significant amounts of rainfall. And the farther it goes, we could end up with maybe a quarter of an inch if it continues out west. So we're going to be just right on that line of really seeing a lot of rain or not. So stay tuned. We check out Zebulon this morning. We're looking at cloudy skies here. Right now, 76 with a dew point of 66. So it's a nice, fairly quiet morning. We have the potential for a few isolated showers. A little of that starting to pop up just back to our north and west right now. Models aren't really picking up on any of that moving in here until much later today. We'll see variably cloudy skies. That's 5 o'clock, looking dry. But once we get towards, say, 10 or 11 o'clock, we may see a few showers and storms rolling in. Tomorrow's definitely going to be a wetter day. We do have the chance of some severe storms just to the west side of our viewing area. It's a 60% chance Tuesday and Wednesday and a 70% chance on Friday. No matter how much we get, doesn't mean that we're getting a lot of rain, but a 70% chance that we're going to get something out of that potential tropical cyclone, which is likely to be named. So right now we are on track to have the wettest year on record at RDU since 1949. 45.42 inches of rain, and previously it was 1996. That's second on the list, and that's when Hurricane Fran came through. So it's been very wet, and we may add some to it, of course, as we get into the end of the week. 9 inches in July, almost 9 in August, and about 8 3/4 in September. That is a lot of rain in 3 months' time. 81 in Raleigh this afternoon, 79 in Durham, and 85 in Fayetteville. We're going to see our humidity continuing to climb and just staying up there in the tropical zone all the way through Friday and probably Saturday too. Over the weekend, boy, we're going to be watching it very closely. We have the Bluegrass Festival and, of course, Benson Mule Days. We're proud sponsors of both of those events, and it looks like we'll have some rain at least Friday, if not Saturday too. We'll take a closer look at that coming up.
Elizabeth, thanks. A mother who lost her son in a shooting over the weekend is calling for change. Coming up at 4, she shares more about the 25-year-old killed outside this hookah lounge.
Plus, a man accused of driving drunk causing a crash that killed a Duke University employee will learn his sentence today. Details from inside the courtroom at 5 o'clock. And still ahead this noon, it's no secret the economy is one of the top issues in the election this year. New studies show young people are mindlessly spending instead of saving. How you can put an end to the so-called doom spending trend.
Also, Americans are sitting on billions of dollars, and it's right in their wallets. Ahead, what you can do to prevent that money from slipping through your fingers.
General Motors will temporarily lay off about 1,700 workers at its assembly plant in Kansas. It is retooling the facility to make the next Chevy Bolt electric vehicle. That's due to come out next year. The cuts will start in November when production of the Chevy Malibu ends. The Kansas plant currently builds the Malibu and Cadillac XT4. Some Southwest Airlines employees are holding their breath after a video message from the chief operating officer hinted at decisions that would impact staffers. Those changes were not spelled out. Southwest plans to announce some changes Thursday at its Investor Day meeting. The airline has already axed its famous open seating policy, and now there's talk of offering premium extra legroom seats and red-eye flights. Southwest has struggled economically since the pandemic and has had problems with Boeing aircraft delivery delays.
Some young people are splashing out on luxuries like travel and designer clothes instead of saving. This trend is being characterized as doom spending on social media. Doom spending is when a person mindlessly shops to self-soothe because they feel pessimistic about the economy and their future. One way to end doom spending is to avoid online shopping and going into a brick and mortar store. Choosing a store, traveling there, and standing in line could help you slow down and think critically about what you buy. More than 40% of adults have at least one unused gift card, voucher, or store credit. A new Bankrate survey finds the average amount per person is $244, up from $187 last year. More than a third of people have lost money from a gift card, such as letting that card expire, losing the card, or the store going out of business before they could use it.
Coming soon to a smartphone or computer near you, 8 new emojis. Yeah, they include an exhausted face with bags under its eyes and a flag for the remote island in the English Channel called Sark. There are also a root, vegetable, harp, shovel, and a purple splatter. And a leafless tree is meant to raise awareness of drought and climate change. Different operating services will put their own spins on the designs. The new emojis will roll out over the next few months and throughout 2025.
Raleigh police are searching for the shooters in 2 separate incidents. While officers believe they are unrelated, neighbors are on edge.
Donald Trump says he doesn't see himself running for president again if he is unsuccessful in November. Coming up, more on the race for the White House and the new debate challenge on the table. And first, here is a look at your winning NC Education lottery numbers. We'll be right back.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson answered questions today for the first time since CNN reported a username linked to Robinson had posted racist and sexually graphic comments on a pornographic website years ago. Robinson has denied making the comments. Just last night, most of Robinson's senior staff quit his campaign, including his political strategist and his finance director. Robinson told reporters today at a campaign stop in Wilkesboro that his campaign will carry on anyway. He says he's received lots of resumes and plans to announce a new campaign team soon. Other Republicans have called on him to supply evidence that he did not post the inflammatory comments. Robinson could not say when he would be able to produce that evidence, but said he plans to sue CNN.
You better understand, I am coming after CNN full throttle. But we have got to put the people first. And in order to put the people first, we've got to concentrate on this campaign. And that is exactly what we're going to do.
Robinson has said that he believes someone made up the posts as a way to smear his campaign. However, the CNN story clearly traces the username to several accounts connected to Robinson for over 15 years. CNN has not responded to our request for comment.
We're staying on top of breaking news in Raleigh, where a man is in the hospital after being shot at an apartment complex. This happened at the Walnut Ridge Apartments around 2 in the morning. WRAL's Brett Neese is live there now. And Brett, police have been at that scene for over 10 hours now.
They have, Renee, and you can see the one police car right here. That's the remaining police squad car, but they're continuing to go through this crime scene, which is actually here at this home. You see that white SUV, that white Cadillac there that is surrounded by crime scene tape. That has really been the center and the focus of much of the investigation all day. But lately, the past couple of hours, they've been in and out of that building, taking pictures, collecting evidence. The forensics team has been out here for much of that 10 hours that we're talking about that they've been investigating this. I want to show you some video from the WRAL Breaking News Tracker that shows you the forensics team going in and out of this white SUV that they've been focused on. They've been collecting evidence, taking pictures of the car. You can see the open doors there. Neighbors say they heard between 10 and 15 shots fired around 2 a.m. Josh Medlin, he lives here. He says he's planning to move his family as soon as possible.
Heard a lot of gunshots this morning. I heard a lot of EMSs, a lot of police this morning. Just scared, just told the kids to get down. It's pretty terrifying. You know, I have a lot of kids, so it's not the first time.
Medlin says that there have been multiple shootings over the past couple of months. And over the past year, we've looked at data for this block. It has seen several kinds of criminal activity, including drugs, assaults, and a shots fired call just within the last year. And we're going to get an update on the condition of that man who was shot. We are told that he is in the hospital with serious injuries at this point. But Raleigh Police Department telling me that the investigation is ongoing and have not shared any details since. But we're going to stay on top of the story and keep you updated. Live in Raleigh, Brett Neese, WRAL News.
Just a few miles from there, investigators are also investigating a shooting on Bertie Drive in Raleigh. This one happened around 4 o'clock this morning. A man was shot and taken to the hospital with serious injuries. Crime scene tape surrounded this area right near a roundabout. CCBI also spent hours on that scene. We've reached out to Raleigh police to learn more about the search for the shooter.
And happening now in the WRAL Live Center, 2 Camp Lejeune Marines facing rape charges this noon hour. Take a look at your screen. These are the 2 men stationed at Camp Lejeune due in court today for bond hearing. Currently, 23-year-old Ted Davis and 20-year-old Riley Petrowski are being held with no bond. Investigators say the 2 men knew the alleged victim. In addition to the rape charge, other charges include providing alcohol to a person under 21 and felony conspiracy. Look for new reporting on this story in our news starting at 4.
We have new information about a vehicle that crashed into a building early this morning. Durham police responded to Junction Road near Mansfield Avenue at around 1 a.m. Officers found a stolen silver Jeep Cherokee crashed into an apartment. The people inside ran away. No one inside the apartment was hurt. The fire department is checking the structure to make sure it is safe. Fayetteville police say an 18-year-old is dead and another man is hurt after a shooting. Police arrived at a home on Edge Hill Road around 10:30 Saturday night to find the 2 men with gunshot wounds. Both were taken to the hospital. A.J. Whidbey died from his injuries. The other man is expected to be okay. A suspect has not been identified.
Vice President Kamala Harris is riding a wave of momentum in the polls and challenging former President Donald Trump to another debate, which so far he has not accepted. This all comes as Republicans confront a growing scandal in the North Carolina governor's race. NBC's Hallie Jackson reports.
The kickoff this morning to a 6-week sprint before Election Day, with Vice President Harris ramping up the pressure on former President Trump to debate her again after she agreed to a second face-off in October.
I would like another debate. We have a lot more to discuss.
Mr. Trump so far has not accepted, and in a new interview, he's pledging if he loses the race this time, he will not run again in 2028.
I think that will be it. I don't see that at all. I think that hopefully we're going to be successful.
Mr. Trump has repeatedly refused to accept his legitimate 2020 loss, now facing a double-digit gender gap as Harris zeroes in on reproductive rights. Mr. Trump's trying to make an appeal to women.
Women will be happy, healthy, confident, and free. You will no longer be thinking about abortion because it is now where it always had to be, with the states. Women, we love you. We're going to take care of you.
Notably absent on stage at that campaign rally in North Carolina, the state's Republican candidate for governor, Mark Robinson, as 4 of his top staffers, including his campaign manager, are resigning just days after explosive allegations reported by CNN that Robinson made racist and lewd comments on a porn site, which he denies. Mr. Trump, who has endorsed Robinson, making no mention of him Saturday. His running mate, J.D. Vance in Pennsylvania, asked by NBC Philadelphia if he believed Robinson's denials that he made the posts.
I don't not believe him. I don't believe him. I just think that you have to let these things sometimes play out.
It comes as a major new NBC News poll shows Vice President Harris leading former President Trump by 5 points within the margin of error. But it also shows the vice president still trails Mr. Trump on the key issues of securing the border and the economy.
That was Hallie Jackson reporting. And back to the debate invitation, Vice President Kamala Harris has accepted an invitation from CNN to debate former President Trump on October 23rd. Trump on Saturday said it was too late to have another presidential debate because Americans have already begun casting their ballots for the 2024 election. Trump's running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, is set to square off against Minnesota Governor Tim Walz on October 1st in a debate hosted by CBS.
Dog owners know it, and now scientific research validates it. Dogs can boost your mood. How even those who don't have a pet can reap similar benefits.
Plus, an amusement park ride was anything but fun when it got stuck upside down for 25 minutes. Who the amusement park is suing now after that debacle. Stay connected with WRAL News on the app. Get important news and weather alerts and watch WRAL's reporting covering your community right on your mobile device.
A Johnson & Johnson subsidiary filed for bankruptcy for a third time as it attempts to settle tens of thousands of lawsuits over its baby powder and talc products. J&J faces lawsuits from more than 62,000 people who claim the products contained asbestos that caused ovarian and other cancers. Under the settlement, J&J would contribute nearly $9 million to support 83% of claimants that voted on it. Each would receive between $75,000 and $150,000.
Today marks the start of National Dog Week, and psychologists say there are plenty of reasons to celebrate our four-legged friends. Being with your dog can ease symptoms of depression and anxiety. Dogs also encourage exercise, which benefits mental and physical health. If you don't own your own dog, there are other ways you can reap the benefits.
At a pet shelter or visiting a loved one who does have an animal, offering to pet sit if your residence allows that, spending a few hours with an animal, a dog, can do the same that it does for a pet owner. It can lower your anxiety, lower your depression.
And if you're not a dog person, that's not a problem. Doctors say having any type of pet can give you a sense of purpose and boost mental health.
It's a day of premieres here on WRAL. Kelly Clarkson is back for season 6. How she's getting viewers amped at 30 Rock.
Then tonight, tune in for The Voice. Hear how Snoop Dogg describes his role as a judge.
Nearly 2/3 of baby food you can buy in the grocery store is unhealthy. That was the finding of a recent study that went viral and was actually done right here in Raleigh. 5 on Your Side spoke to the researcher who examined the contents of 651 types of baby food. Keely Arthur is here now with the look ahead to that conversation. Keely.
Renee, squeeze pouches in baby food packs can be a lifesaver for busy parents. It's quick and easy, and it has fruits and vegetables, so it has to be healthy, right? Well, maybe not. Dr. Elizabeth Dunford was behind this study, looking at how healthy these baby and kids' foods really are. She told us she went to a bunch of grocery stores around Raleigh to document what's in these foods. And it really started because she's a mom herself and fed these squeeze pouches to her kids as a quick and convenient snack.
And I've bought a lot of these products, including those squeeze pouches. And I thought, you know what, I don't think they're as good as I hope they are.
And there's much more to this study than that headline that nearly 2/3 of baby food is unhealthy, which is startling enough. So tonight at 6, the other big findings from Dunford's research and how you can take all of this data and use it to make changes to improve your kids' health.
Keely, thanks for that. UNC football lost 70-50 to James Madison, and that sent shockwaves through the program. No one was more disappointed than head coach Mack Brown. Brown said he had never been more mad after a loss. He took the blame after the game, speaking to the media, and told the team, if I'm the problem, I'll leave. That's a message he now regrets.
When you're so disappointed in yourself and you've let so many people down and you're a guy who likes to please, then that's wrong. And I wasn't walking there to quit. I was walking there to say, hey, we stunk. If this isn't working, help me, man. I'll get out of here. That's what my purpose was, and it didn't turn out well. We shouldn't be talking about me. We should be talking about the kids.
Brown also said he apologized to athletic director Bubba Cunningham as well. UNC hosts Duke Saturday at 4 p.m. Today, we will hear from Carolina Panthers head coach Dave Canales after the team's first win of the season. Panthers offense exploded with quarterback Andy Dalton at the helm with Bryce Young benched. Carolina is coming home from Las Vegas with a big win over the Raiders, 36-22, and we hope to learn more about where the quarterback position stands. Coming up in our 9 o'clock hour, a little bit later today, we actually heard from Tim Donnelly from 99.9 The Fan with his take on the quarterback situation.
Season 6 of The Kelly Clarkson Show kicks off today with a 2-day 30 Rock rooftop party.
What doesn't kill you?
Stephen A. Smith, the voice of New York Angie Martinez, and Kid Capri are spreading the word to New York City. Today, Kelly's special guest, Halle Berry, discusses the 20th anniversary of Halle playing the iconic role of Catwoman. Tune in today at 2 for the season 6 kickoff with an incredible Kellyoke dance medley of some of Kelly's biggest hits. I'm sure Miss Independence, Since You've Been Gone, Breakaway, I'm sure they'll all be in there.
They'll be rolling them all out. We got a system rolling its way on in here, maybe tonight in the overnight hours as well. Elizabeth Gardner in the WRAL Severe Weather Center with what we're watching.
And watch this tropical system, which is likely to become Helene and may actually be a major hurricane before it makes landfall in Florida. So this is something you're going to hear a lot about over the next few days. Possible landfall in Florida, more likely landfall in Florida. And for us, it would be maybe a Friday and Saturday impact, could be as early as Thursday. Just going to depend on exactly where the system ends up. It is here, just starting to get its act together. It doesn't have a closed circulation, so it is a potential tropical cyclone. We remember that. We remember potential tropical cyclone 8, which of course caused some incredible flooding along parts of our coast, including Carolina Beach, and we saw rain here too. This system is moving north at 6 miles per hour with winds at 30, and so that, of course, will continue to increase in speed and forward motion too. We'll take a look here. It is likely to become a tropical depression later on this evening and a Category 1 storm by Wednesday. Category 2 likely by Thursday, possibly up to Category 3 before it makes landfall somewhere here along the coast of Florida, that west coast, sort of the Big Bend area. The fan is fairly wide now because, of course, the storm hasn't completely formed yet. It's possible that it would be somewhere between Georgia, South Carolina, and western North Carolina on by 8 a.m. on Friday, and then it's likely to begin to pull a little bit farther to the west. So right now, we're going to anticipate the mountains of North Carolina to be the ones that see the heavy rain out of this. Here's what's happening. We're going to have an upper level low that's back to the west, and as the storm moves northward, it's likely to get wrapped up in that low. The other option is it gets a little closer to the high, and it gets trapped in the high and pulls farther eastward across North Carolina. That's looking less and less likely. Take a look at our computer model. We'll pause it right here. This is Thursday at 11 a.m. We'll likely be fairly dry, at least to start the day on Thursday, and then we'll watch the center of circulation get wrapped up in this upper level low, but definitely bringing us some rain on Friday and some windy conditions as well. As a matter of fact, in the location where we'll be, there's certainly the possibility even of some isolated tornadoes with the system. But take a look at the model plots. We'll roll those out and look at how wide this is, all the way from, say, Nashville, Tennessee to around Hickory or Statesville, North Carolina is where the models show the center of circulation. So, that's, in terms of a forecast for a tropical system this far out, and the system hasn't even formed yet, it's fairly tightly packed together. But it's going to make a big difference for us where the center of circulation is. If it goes farther west, we're looking at 4 to 7 inches of rain in the mountains. We could see anywhere from 1/4 to 2 inches across our viewing area. Of course, if it wobbles farther west, we could be looking at less than an inch. If it wobbles farther east, we could be looking at 3 or 4 inches of rain. So we'll watch it closely. Watching a cold front back to our west, it is likely to bring us the potential for a few scattered showers overnight tonight and a much better chance for rain tomorrow. Tomorrow's a 60% chance, as well as Wednesday. And then, of course, a lot of big events happening for us this weekend. Bluegrass Festival and the Benson Mule Days Festival. We're watching the path of that tropical system closely.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Well, imagine hanging upside down on this amusement park ride for 30 minutes.
That's no fun. Now the park is demanding that the ride manufacturer pay up. As we wrap things up, here's a look at a few of the headlines we're following today.
An 18-year-old from Clayton is charged with kidnapping and rape for an incident that happened Saturday. An arrest warrant says Tristan Gardner kidnapped a teen, restrained that person, and then took that person from one place to another and held them for ransom. Gardner is expected in court at 1:30.
The State Board of Elections shared an update on worker safety after a suspicious package was sent to their office last week. State Elections Director Karen Brinson-Bell says they will not be intimidated by threats. She said they will take precautions like wearing gloves to handle mail or put up physical barriers to keep people safe. The FBI is investigating the suspicious package.
With less than 45 days away from the election, candidates are vying to win North Carolina. Former President Donald Trump's running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, will be in Charlotte today. He was in Raleigh last week. Trump is coming back to the state after a visit on Saturday. He'll be in Mecklenburg County Wednesday. Vice President Kamala Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, is also making a campaign stop in North Carolina this week. He'll be in Wilmington Wednesday.
An Oregon amusement park is suing the manufacturer of a ride after it left riders upside down for about 30 minutes. Around 30 people were on the Atmosphere ride in June when the ordeal happened. Park engineers and fire officials successfully lowered the ride. The park is currently facing a suit from one woman who claims her daughter's health was negatively impacted. The amusement park wants the manufacturer to pay for all park losses, costs, and attorney's fees.
The Voice returns to NBC this fall with two new coaches. Snoop Dogg and Michael Bublé join Gwen Stefani and the reigning champ, Reba McEntire. Snoop says he feels like a rookie, but he likes his position. Bublé says he feels like he's hanging with friends. The coaches weigh in on the first round of auditions tonight at 8 here on WRAL. Yeah, plenty of folks spin Earth, Wind, and Fire's September on the 21st of that month every year. But one person took it a bit farther this year. Questlove, who won an Oscar for his documentary Summer of Soul, announced he'll direct a documentary on Earth, Wind, and Fire. He reportedly has the approval of the iconic band and exclusive access to video, visual, and written archives.
NBC News Daily is next on WRAL, your next local news update in 30 minutes.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air channel 34 and Spectrum channel 1257.